So be quick on this one, but title is going to be something like, "Are you willing to vote Republican to get your gun rights back?" Um, so as we know, most let me see, most black people vote Democrat. Most ex felons, you know what? I don't have the numbers on that, but I will say a lot of people. If you vote Democrat, let's put it that way. If you are a Democratic voter and you're an ex felon, your ex felon gun rights been taken, and you're a Democratic voter, are you willing to vote Republican to get your gun rights back? And I say that because, as you know, you probably know, as far as gun rights, Second Amendment, Republicans are really huge on that. Now, I'm not, going. This is not a politic talk. I'm not trying to dive into Republicans, but that's the facts of the matter. I'm not trying to, go into it's beyond the scope of this conversation to go into why black people vote liberal, why people vote liberal at all, why some people vote Republican, why Republicans are really staunch and stand up for the Second Amendment. I'm not going into all that, but these are the facts of it. And again, I'll say it: Republicans are very staunch on the Second Amendment. A lot of the judges you see now doing these rulings saying 922G is unconstitutional are Republicans. A lot of them even report. Not going to say that, but a lot of them are Republicans. So just bottom line fact, the right is much bigger component of your gun rights. The liberals, Democrats are not. Most like states, you see some type of law or some type of frisk type thing been done. It's usually Democrats are doing that. They believe that basically your gun rights need to be narrowed down in scope, and they really don't like people having guns. And that's if that's how they feel, that's fine. So if you feel like that, fine. I'm not here to say anything or talk bad about you, but I just want to bring up the facts, and we must live in reality. Is at least that's what I believe. I like to live in reality, not fantasy. And the reality of it is, Republicans are much bigger, and you stand a much better chance of keeping your Second Amendment rights and keeping those strong with the Republicans than you do the Democrats. So my question to y'all is, will you vote Republican? If you're a Democrat, if you usually vote Democrat, will you vote Republican to try and get your gun rights back? As you see, some of these Republicans are ruling 922G to be unconstitutional, and may throw that whole thing out, and then where you could have ex-felon could be in possession of a gun without facing 922G. So let me know in the comments if you would. Well, are you willing to vote Republican? That's the question. I want some responses in the comments if you would. Also, check out some of the other videos on the channel. I'll try and put it in this description too. We are accepting donations to fight against this, to ensure ex-felons do have rights to guns and should still have the Second Amendment. If you believe in these type of things, feel free to donate. I'll try and put a link to that donation link in the description if I get a moment. Other than that, we do have we're gonna a person here that may want to ask a few questions for this interview. We'll call him Mr. Mike. So, Mr. Mike, you have any questions? You heard my spiel there. Any questions that you have? If you don't, that's fine. But any questions or anything that you might want to ask to get a better understanding or on?
Just in general, like say you take a regular person that's an ex-felon, and they do decide they want to go Republican for their vote, so they could get those gun rights back. How would it change in other aspects? Like I know there's small things that Democrats oppose from Republicans and vice versa, but what would be some of the biggest side effects to voting Republican instead of Democrat, and how would that affect the ex-convict?
Well, I would say, if you do vote Republican, and then let's say, a Republican is voted in as far as, let's say, president, or they run the House, the Senate. So there are a few things that does come with Republican and their ideals. And again, I'm not here to, one way or the other. In fact, there's several here, some of Republican ideas and stuff I agree with, some of them I don't. But they do have their ideals and rules that they go by. So one that you would be seeing, again, they're very staunch on the Second Amendment gun, so they're going to be pro-gun. That's bottom line. They're conservative most of the time when it comes to fiscal things. And I would say not just fiscal things and stuff in the world you see. And by that I mean when it comes to money, they believe they're not the Democrats are much more out to go out and, hey, let's borrow money to do whatever, whether it's social programs, welfare, whether it's stuff like that. Democrats will go and borrow money and pay for programs like that, and they believe in programs like that. Republicans are much less, especially if you have to go and borrow if you don't have it. They want to keep their fiscal, monetary stuff in order instead of borrowing a bunch of money. They don't really like that. Especially for causes like, social programs and stuff like that. They really don't believe that's the government's real job to do. So they kind of tend to cut back on those, make those smaller, as opposed to the Democrats who want those programs to be larger and better funded. Also with the Republicans, you're going to get big on military. They're big on military. Now they may borrow some money to spend on military because they do believe military is an essential function of the government, and that's something the government should be doing, and they have no problem doing that. But in general, they still like to have their financial house in order. As far as don't spend more, you can't keep spending more than you make. That's an issue, whether you're a country or person, whatever. You just can't keep doing it. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Those are some of the things you would get with, voting Republican.
Okay.
Any other questions you had?
No.
Okay, cool. Good question. Again, this scope was narrow. This was not a politic talk. So my scope was, I wanted it to be pretty narrow and focused here. And it was just, if you currently vote Democrat, would you be willing to vote Republican if you see the Republican judges, a lot of them voting against 922G, and if a Republican candidate came out and say, hey, I will abolish the 922G, I do think ex-felons should, have their gun rights back. Would you be willing to vote for a Republican president that said that? Are you willing to vote just Republican period now? Now, with not any guarantees, just again, knowing that Republican judges do side by the Second Amendment are much stronger on the Second Amendment than Democrats were. You're not going to get your gun rights back on the Democrats as far as ex-felons unless something like totally turned around. That's just not going to happen. And again, I'm not here to judge either way, but that is the factual of it. That's the ideal of the Democrats. Their ideology is, basically less guns. So we don't need guns in the hands of everybody that's dangerous. And again, I'm not here to judge either way. So anyway, that's the end of that. Comment down below, like this one. Let's get it pushed out to more like-minded people. Donate. I'm gonna probably put the fund in the description. And until the next one, see ya.